Sims Nation, welcome to another edition of the Positively Pat Sims Show. I am Positively Pat Sims, and this is going to be a really good episode, I promise you, because it's about one of the greatest characters of all time. It's my favorite WWE superstar of all time, and it's of one of the greatest streaks in all of sports and entertainment. Grandmaster, welcome to the program. Matty Marijuana has been laying in the weeds. And I'll tell you what, guys, I am riding high this morning off of yesterday. Yesterday was an incredible day for Positively Pat Sims. First of all, we had the release of the all-new original album, Catching Stars. I am very, very proud of that. It's just been awesome with the release of that. And then last night, we had what I believe is the best Warriors Unleashed show we've ever had. We had several DDPY Warriors joining us, including Angie Cunningham, Angela Dolina, Pam Riley Rebuild, Scotty Boots, Jennifer Thomas, and my fellow DDPY champ Maria Picaler from 2021. So it was an incredible show. Grandmaster says, my girlfriend and I are listening to the show. We're watching Mall Shadow Lord. Ooh, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Grandmaster, I'll tell you, I am looking forward to that. And pretty soon, guys, we are going to be launching our all-new show, At the Movies, which is going to replace our old show, Honest Reviews. We've been retooling the show. We got an all-new logo ready to go, and merch is ready to go. So we're just going to find the right time to launch it. Maybe it's this week. Maybe after seeing the Super Mario Galaxy movie, maybe we'll open with that. Who knows? But, all right, guys, let's start this. I don't know where Seth went. Oh, again. Okay. So let's get moving then and start with our very first guest for today. You guys know him. You love him, ladies and gentlemen. He is the king of We Are Live, the one and only DDPY instructor and warrior, George Fenmore. Good morning, George.
Good morning, everybody.
That's right. How are we feeling this morning?
Pretty good. Yesterday was my wedding anniversary, so I'm coming off of that. So great day.
How'd you celebrate your how many years and how'd you celebrate?
20. Honestly, because we didn't have much money to do anything this year, so we just had a quiet dinner at home, and I honestly, she had me play World of Warcraft like we did when we got married. Like literally, my honeymoon, she wanted to watch me raid because she wanted to see the raid. So like, she made me raid on my honeymoon. That's basically what I did last night, and then we just chilled and watched some TV and. Yeah.
All right. Hey, sometimes the simplest things.
On the air, so, you know.
Sometimes the simplest things in life are the best. Grandmaster says, guys, that SmackDown was, let's just put it this way, was not very good. So I don't know because I don't have cable, and I was not on social media very much last night. So I was going to follow up with what happened after the show today, because SmackDown has no bearing on what we're talking about this morning. But let's go over back to our co-host. Welcome this morning, Captain Bathroom, Seth Sims. Good morning, Seth Sims.
Good morning. I have two animals with me today.
Oh, you've got Belle at your feet, and you've got Diamond, who keeps walking across the camera.
Yeah.
Oh, she was nice. She dropped her tail for that one.
She avoided blocking the screen this time.
Seth, of course, wearing his Rock Christmas shirt.
Yeah.
What does it say? It says Rock.
Rock Your Christmas.
Rock Your Christmas. Seth wears this year round. It's beautiful.
I know.
It's awesome. Who doesn't love Christmas, bro?
Exactly.
So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, and then joining us also from WANT, he is our prognosticator of prognosticators. He is the one and only Benny the Jet Scala. Benny, how you doing this morning?
Well, Pat, normally this would be when that's not me, but this would be the time when I would flex, but I'm feeling kind of tired, actually.
Why are you tired?
Well, At this point, let me invoke my inner Horatio Kane and say, well, Seth, because I was up all night catching stars. Now we need the Who to break in.
Ooh, that was good. He was catching stars. You get it, Seth?
Yeah.
I was up all night catching stars. Yeah.
Up all night, first track, Catching Stars, track number 2. From
both phenomenal songs, by the way.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Maddie wants to know, Benny, do you smoke weed?
Do I smoke weed?
Yes.
Do I look like I smoke weed?
Is that a trick question?
The last time I smoked weed was, I think, around 2002. So no.
Oh, so once WWE bought WCW, you were like, I'm out.
Right. I guess I look high for other reasons then.
Right. You were like, okay, if this is how the world's gonna be, why do I need to why do I need to get high?
Right.
All right. Well, guys, we are, of course, talking about the Undertaker's WrestleMania win streak this morning. And as I kind of probably failed to elaborate on, we are going to be covering WrestleManias 7 through 30, the actual streak of The Undertaker from beginning to end. We will not be going in depth into what happened after Bray Wyatt, Shane McMahon, Roman Reigns.
Oh, I thought we were doing everything afterwards. I have to redo my research now.
Oh, you're so full of it. You're as full as your beard.
That's not very full. There's a lot of gaps in that.
Yeah. But, I mean, really, the Undertaker streak is kind of like the tale of two eras. You have the not-so-great era, which, yes, Maddie, includes the giant Gonzalez. And then you get into where where Taker's streak kind of became like mythological in a sense. It was like, you know, it was just kind of there for a while, and then all of a sudden it was just, as they say for Sheamus, it was just banger after banger after banger.
No.
And it was incredible. Like, the older Taker got, the better those matches got. And I want to ask this, though. Do you think that it had to do with Taker getting better, or was it just Taker moving away from the lurch, moving slow, not selling character that he was, and got into more of that biker/hybrid version of the character? George, what do you think?
I think it was both.
Both? I mean,
yeah.
we all age gracefully.
Because he got older, and obviously once he got away from not selling at all, right? So once he got to the point where he was selling, basically after, like I would say after he became the dead man, when he started incorporating everything that he had done in between hand and what have you,
right.
It started increasing. But again, too, you also have he got more freedom because it started becoming an attraction. So they let him do more than they would beforehand. He could get away with more. He had more creative control over it to a degree, especially the way the matches were designed and gone. I think a lot of that, it's like a mixture, like everything tossed together in there to equal where he got to.
Right.
Obviously, the more you do something, the more reps you have, the better at it you're going to be. That's just, just anything in life, right? So, obviously, as he got older, he had a lot more reps, so, yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. How about you, Benny? What do you think?
Well, I watched a good majority of these matches over this past week. And one of the things I enjoyed, besides the actual matches, was watching the evolution of The Undertaker.
Oh, yeah.
Watching him evolve, adding new moves, like adding Old School, adding The Last Ride, adding Hell's Gate, and just the evolution of the character. So, yeah, I mean, it was good that, you don't want to keep the same gimmick for, how many, even Kane did the same thing. He had to reinvent himself many times over to stay relevant. So it was great. And whatever he did, Taker, it always seemed to work.
Yeah. Taker kind of set the standard for what we see with a lot of guys who truly understand how to have a long career in this business. to be fair, like, and stay on top and stay fresh, right? Like, Chris Jericho does the same thing. Chris Jericho reinvents himself every so often, but he doesn't do, the thing about Jericho for me is I feel like sometimes he does a complete, like, 180, where the only time we really saw that from Taker was when he went from, ministry Taker, and then all of a sudden he's the biker. But even then we saw kind of glimpses and hints at it. But like I've always felt that was needed for wrestlers' career. I think that's one of the reasons John Cena he just got booed out of the building for so long. Number one, he got pushed, and then he never changed character, which worked for him in the end because people finally came around to him because it was becoming less is more with Cena. But look at Roman. They tried keeping Roman the same way, and it kept falling flat on its face. And you make that transition and that character change, and amazing things happen. And he's still changing. Pat, he's still adapting.
Throughout the whole history of wrestling for years and years during the territory era, somebody would typically stay in a territory anywhere from like 9 months to 15 months, leave, go somewhere else, and then maybe if he reappeared in that territory, say like 3-4 years later, even if he was the same person, at least he's been gone for a while. Jim Cornette says, "How can I miss you if you don't go away?"
Right.
With pretty much WWE holding a monopoly on wrestling, we've seen The Miz now for 23 years. We saw Taker, but at least Taker had the ability to recreate himself and make himself fresh again.
Yeah. And I hate to say this, but it actually worked in Taker's favor that he was a big guy that got hurt. Taker missed a couple WrestleManias during this streak due to injury. And Taker's a tough dude. Taker worked through injury. We all know this. But, he's had, I think, both his hips replaced and I think knees replaced and things. I mean, the dude really put his body through hell for this business.
His eye socket?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, had his eye socket crushed. Well, that was Mabel, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, good old Mabel.
We don't have to fight him anymore.
Yeah.
Taker said that on the podcast.
Yeah, I think didn't Rey Mysterio like break his nose or something like that, or something? Like Rey Mysterio just mistimed something or whatever, and
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, but when Taker went away, when he returned, there was always something different about him, and that always worked in his favor. We had starting off with the kind of, it wasn't the supernatural Taker, it was just kind of this dark character. But I mean, he did do the no sell. He started adding in some things that made him a bit more of a supernatural-esque Michael Myers type of character. But when he got hurt, but going into WrestleMania X, when he finally returned, we got a new look, which was the purple gear Taker. And we started seeing really a lot more, them leaning a lot heavier into the supernatural aspects of the Undertaker character, which led into the Attitude Era version of Taker, into the Ministry of Darkness. Then he gets hurt going into WrestleMania 2000, and we get the next evolution of the character. And a lot of people forget, before Taker went away, he was in a lot of pain. We know this. He was limping all the time. But his last appearance was not very Ministry of Darkness looking. He came out in black jeans and he had a bandana on. He looked like Biker Taker. And he then becomes, when he comes back, the American Badass version, who rides the motorcycle down. But visually, it was not a huge leap. Like, he still kept the black coat and everything. And then he just sort of transitioned from there. And then he goes away after Survivor Series. They tease the return of the Taker, comes back, and he's returned to the hybrid sort of dead man character. And that's when, for me, that's when Taker really started excelling in the ring. When he could be both versions brought together, those were my favorite times for Undertaker. But what we're going to do today for the streak is we're not just going to kind of quickly discuss each one. We're also going to be doing a face-off between them. So after we talk about 7, we'll get to 8, and then we're all going to choose which one was the better match, 7 or 8. And then that carries on. We go to 9, and whichever one wins 7 or 8, I think we pretty much know is going to beat 9. And then we move on. So we go down the row. We keep going down, facing off against each match until we get to the end and decide between the 4 of us. I can count. Between the 4 of us, what match is the best Undertaker WrestleMania match? All right. And so one of the things I want you to keep in mind isn't just the in-ring part of it, because sometimes the in-ring is good, but I want you to take a look at the storytelling aspect of it, because Taker is a very, very good storyteller in his matches. And I'm sure it's probably going to come down to somewhere between WrestleMania's 24 and 29. I think that's where we're going to land for most people on which one is the greatest. It's going to land somewhere in there. So, all right, guys. Killer Cross versus Zilla Fatul will be cool. All right. Sounds good. All right, here we go. WrestleMania 7. Let's get moving here. Seth, what do you know about WrestleMania 7? Undertaker versus the original Phenom, Jimmy Superfly Snuka. I will speak properly at some point.
What I know is that it was somewhat of a shorter match compared to other WrestleMania matches.
Right.
And the winning blow was him catching Snuka. My bad.
It's like
Man.
my wife pronouncing Oscar.
Yeah, Snuka coming off the ropes, and then he hits a tombstone, which would give him the knockout and pin.
Right. And, I mean, this match had one purpose. Establish The Undertaker.
Yeah.
We know that Taker would have a phenomenal first year. 1 year after his arrival, he would win the WWF Championship from Hulk Hogan at Survivor Series. Great moment for me. And, but yeah, this match had one job: establish Taker. So you didn't need a long match to do that. In fact, you didn't want a long match. You needed Taker to come in, be strong, and get out. Benny, your thoughts on WrestleMania 7 versus Snuka?
Yeah, I mean, as far as Jimmy Snuka, this was not the Jimmy Snuka who 8 years earlier climbed to the top of the cage against Don Morocco. This is an almost 50-year-old Jimmy Snuka. This was the one and only time that Taker came out with Brother Love in all the WrestleManias.
No, he didn't.
He didn't?
No.
You sure about that?
Yeah, they didn't make it. They didn't make it to
okay.
Brother Love did not make it to WrestleMania. He came out for Survivor Series, yes, but no, Brother Love did not make it to WrestleMania.
Well, okay, so the chat room can correct me or verify me, but it was his 26th birthday that the Taker was. That was March 24th, 1991. It was his 26th birthday, and I thought Bobby Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon did a really good job on commentary for putting him over.
Oh, big time. Yeah, absolutely. I'm coming in and I'm verifying here to make sure, because like I said, Taker's my guy, so I want to make sure I'm not screwing this up. But yes, it was Paul Bearer at WrestleMania 7. One of the things that you guys one of the segments why I remember that very vividly is Paul Bearer and Taker are measuring Regis Philbin in a backstage interview, and so Undertaker's reading off Regis's measurements for his casket to Paul Bearer. It was very, very funny. But yeah, the Brother Love thing didn't last very long. Bruce Pritchard talks about how he would have had to be Taker's manager full time, give up his backstage responsibilities and all kinds of stuff, and it just would have been. It wasn't really good overall, and Paul Bearer was a much better match for
Oh,
Taker.
absolutely.
Yeah, so everything happened for the best for all involved. George, your thoughts on WrestleMania VII, Taker versus Snuka?
I mean, we've already established most of it already. You know, like it was just it needed to be a strong match for his opening thing. It had to be a fast match, but it also had to have Taker take damage and then no sell of damage. So basically, Taker's down, eats the Superfly splash, and then boom, he's right back up, and then takes it home, you know, real quick. So and I did really did establish Taker as, oh my gosh, he just kicked out of his best move, and at that time, especially back in that time, because that was like what early, that was like what 91.
91.
Yeah, people weren't kicking out of finishers.
Right.
So if you kicked out of someone's finisher, it was everyone was like taking back. It was like because normally when you hit a finisher back then, the fans were all like, "Well, okay, it's over," right? Like and then suddenly everyone was like, "Wait, what? He kicked out of Jimmy Superfly's flash?" You know, so great match for what it was. Short, sweet, in and out. So yeah.
Yep. And speaking of, now this was not Taker kicking out of a finish, but at the following year's WrestleMania, at WrestleMania 8, moving on here, Jake the Snake Roberts, one of the greatest finishers of that era, was Jake's DDT.
I still my favorite finisher.
For my money, Jake has the greatest DDT of all time. There is no, for me, there's no comparison.
No argument.
It is beautiful to watch. But it's like what's great about it is Jake is so good at it. However, it's beautiful and devastating at the same time. Like it's just absolutely great. And it was also a very protected finish. So when Jake hits Taker at 8 with the DDT, you know, he doesn't cover him right away. He goes out to mess with Paul Bearer and the urn, and Taker sits up in the ring. And I had goosebumps. I still get goosebumps watching it. It was such a cool moment. And again, it's establishing Taker, but in a different way, because a year after 7, where we're establishing Taker as a dominant heel monster, we're now establishing Taker as the babyface monster, because the fans organically started getting behind this character. You know, when he faced Hogan at Survivor Series, go back and watch that, and you're going to hear more and more and more people cheering for Taker. There weren't a whole lot of people that were overly ticked off, except for little kids, when Hogan lost the title to Taker that night. The tide was turning. And Seth, what do you have about WrestleMania 8?
8. So this one was kind of when they actually started a whole like storyline thing with the Undertaker.
Right.
And it was definitely notable. Like it was like, oh, this is definitely going to be something. And
he
then
and Jake had a good story going in.
Yeah. And they called him the WrestleMania Force, or a major WrestleMania Force.
Yeah.
Rather than just like the monster attraction.
Yeah, and freaking Jake is just a master of in-ring psychology. So for Taker to work with Jake, you gotta think that a lot of the way that Taker approached his character only got better from there, because he was able to sit under the learning tree of Jake Roberts. Now let's be thankful he didn't take a lot of the other things that Jake did and implement them, and just focused on the psychology. But you know, a lot of props to Jake. I got to meet Jake in 2021 over at the PC, and Jake's a great dude. And I'm so happy and thankful that he got his life back together. So congratulations to Jake Roberts. Benny, anything you want to add to WrestleMania 8?
Just the fact that now he's a babyface. And what better heel to go up against than Jake Roberts, who to me is like one of the best, like we've said already, in-ring psychologist in the history of wrestling, and his promos were off the chain. But once again, we're not looking at the 1986 Jake Roberts. We're looking at the 1992 version, which is a little bit worn for wear. Again, one of my favorite lines was, now of course Heenan, because Paul Bearer's babyface. He said, "How did Paul Bearer get the urn? He earned it." And of course, then Gorilla, will you stop?
Yeah,
that was priceless.
Those two are my favorite.
My God.
I mean, imagine a year earlier, people were legit like taken back. They were scared of Taker. Taker would come out and people would just kind of, and you look at Jake. Jake was involved in, we talked about this during the previous series. Jake was involved in one of the the biggest storylines of that year, being blinded by the model that just unfortunately had a horrible payoff. But Jake was loved. People went nuts for Jake. People would chant DDT. They would be doing this out in the crowd. I mean, they loved Jake. And here we are at 8. People hated Jake. I mean, he sent his snakes to bite the Ultimate Warrior. He gave Randy and Elizabeth a gift of a cobra at their wedding reception, and oh my gosh. And then when he attacked Taker on the funeral parlor, it just cemented Jake further and started bringing Taker around to where everyone wanted him to be in the first place. So very, very cool. George, you got anything to add to this? I'll start with you next time, my brother.
No. The thing I remember most about the match was already been established, right? It was like Jake finally was heel, and he hit the DDT, but he didn't do the cover, and then he messing with Paul Bearer, and Taker sat up, and everyone was like. That's the biggest thing I remember out of that match the most. Like, it was basically everything we've already went over. So, but to add to what you were saying is, he got to sit under Jake's learning tree, and it shows going forward. Like you can just tell. Like, he picked up, so he was able to pick Jake's brain so much. And the cool thing is their characters, to a degree, I mean, like, yes and no, but you could definitely see how their characters weave, like, we're in the same genre, right? It really helps.
Yeah, it was very, very cool, guys. Here's what I'm gonna do.
There's not a lot of people that are better than Jake Roberts at in-ring psychology and stuff like that. Like, period. Like, especially with that darker, methodic stuff. Like, good luck.
Right. No, I agree. All right, guys. Here's what we're gonna do. So we're still gonna pick which one is equal, but because we are on a time thing here, and we can all go for days on stuff we love to talk about. So what we're going to do is each person, we're going to take turns going through these WrestleManias. So I apologize if that's going to damper or anything, but that's just so we can get through all of Taker's streak here as best as we can. So we'll have George start with 9. So, George, you get Giant Gonzalez. Then we'll move to Benny, to Seth, to me, and then we'll just keep going in that circle there as we go along. But let's do our voting right now. Seth, which is the better match? Undertaker versus Snuka or Undertaker versus Jake?
Versus Jake.
Jake, we got to vote for Jake. Benny?
Jake.
Jake. George?
Jake.
And there you go.
Your vote doesn't even matter anymore.
I actually probably won't be voting because I don't want to tie.
True.
So we're going to go with the majority between you three. And so there you go. So WrestleMania 8, Jake right now stands as the Undertaker's greatest match for WrestleMania so far. But, I mean, you never know. Let's get to 9. George, WrestleMania 9, The Undertaker versus the Giant Gonzalez. I do have a part of this match that I really like. Well, there's actually 2. But, George, tell me your thoughts on Taker versus Gonzalez.
That was the worst Taker match he has ever had. Taker could wrestle a Walmart bag and have a great match, and he couldn't with this guy. It was so bad.
Right.
Oh my. Taker wins by DQ.
Yep.
That's what I'm going to go with. All right. And I had a special name for this dude when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I can't say it on the air, but I will tell you what it is later, Pat. Okay.
Okay. Hey, deal. All right. So let me tell you the two things I actually like about this match. Number one, Taker's entrance. And I will say, even just the visual of Giant Gonzalez is pretty cool. The dude is legit like the biggest dude I've ever seen. Like, he is like, almost 8 feet tall, something like that. He's just, I mean, he makes the Undertaker look like a little person. It's incredible. But the entrance of Taker with the vulture and all that was just, it was so cool. And also, there's a little guilty pleasure here. So Giant Gonzalez takes Taker, puts the chloroform or ether, whatever it is that he puts on, knocks him out. They wheel Taker out, right? Giant Gonzalez is out there in the middle of the ring. And then all of a sudden you hear the gong of the Undertaker, and he comes staggering out of the back. And I'm sorry, I liked that. I was like, dude, Taker rocks. Like, nothing can keep this dude down. Not a DDT, not freaking chemicals. Like, I like that. It was just highly, the match itself was just highly disappointing. Essentially, Taker got his, revenge that night by clotheslining him down. Like, and then I think they still had more matches after that. I think they feuded all the way to SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Yeah, so poor Taker. So, all right, this is just a formality, but Seth, Jake or Giant Gonzalez, which match? Jake. Benny, are you going to throw a monkey wrench into this? Benny, what do you think?
Nope. No, Jake all the way.
Jake, all right. And George? Jake coming out on top still.
Clearly.
Jake Roberts holding tight. All right. Grandmaster says Whippleman threw Gonzalez a rag soaked with chloroform, which Gonzalez used to knock Undertaker unconscious. Referee disqualified Gonzalez for using a foreign object and awarded the match to Taker. Yes, absolutely. All right, moving on. Let's go to Benny. We skip over WrestleMania 10. Undertaker is hurt at Royal Rumble. He disappears. He actually levitates up into the sky after his casket match with Yokozuna. And we bring in Leslie Nielsen from The Naked Gun, who plays basically Frank Drebin, as they go searching for the real Undertaker. And at SummerSlam 94, the purple version of Taker emerges to face the fake Taker in another painful match that went on 3 years too long. That match should have literally been like 30 seconds. That's how Taker should have been reintroduced. But it just kept plodding along. But we get to WrestleMania 11 and still feuding with the $1 Million team, $1 Million Man's team there. He now gets put in the ring against another big man in his streak of big men. And, of course, I'm talking about well past his prime, King Kong Bundy. If Snuka was past his prime at 7 and Jake was past his prime at 8, imagine Bundy 2 years later. So, Benny, talk to me about this one.
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to try to partially redeem myself. The match that I thought I was watching for WrestleMania 7 was actually Taker and Snuka at the Garden in January.
Oh,
and Taker did have Brother Love. I watched that and thought it was WrestleMania. So my apologies, but yeah, you again past this prime King Kong Bundy with $1 Million Man. I think this is one of the few matches, or might be the only match that he won with the flying clothesline. To get the pin, as opposed to the Tombstone Last Ride, whatever. But very interesting shenanigans at ringside between Paul Bearer and $1 Million Man and Kama Mustafa, regarding the urn.
Yeah.
And I believe this was the first WrestleMania where McMahon was the commentator. Was McMahon
second.
and the King?
Second.
Second,
McMahon
okay.
started at well, his first time was 2 for WrestleMania, but him and King started at 10.
Okay.
Yeah, but no, the urn thing was fun, but I never understood it. Like, I never quite got like why. I mean, unless I guess it was just because that was where they were saying Taker drew his power from. So you take away the urn, you take away the Undertaker's power, I guess.
Yeah, that's what it was. And also, there was some kind of, at the time they hadn't gotten into it, but it was some kind of sentimental reason to the Undertaker himself, which later they turned into a storyline being his parents' ashes and so on and so forth. So,
that's true.
But that would be why. So
didn't Kama turn it into a necklace?
Yeah, chain. Yeah, neck chain. Yeah.
I thought it was a hood ornament. Okay.
Yeah, it was funny. All right, so here we go. WrestleMania 11 versus Jake the Snake Roberts, King Kong Bundy. The guy, King Kong Bundy, I remember this match. I just remember King Kong constantly like chattering his... Yeah, oh yeah, he would always want the 5 count. I just remember Taker slamming Bundy, and Bundy could not have been an easy slam, especially at that age, because
oh no.
But Hogan always made slamming big guys look like a chore, which I don't know how much of that was him playing it up, or how much of it was just he literally was struggling to get some of these guys up. But Taker seemed to slam Bundy pretty easily, in my opinion. And I always wondered why he didn't go for the... I mean, we've seen him hit it on Mark Henry, who I think was actually bigger than Bundy. So I don't know if Taker wasn't confident in his strength then or what, but it was a beautiful slam that he hit on Bundy that night. So, all right, here we go. Seth.
Yeah.
King Kong Bundy or Jake Roberts?
King Kong Bundy.
Oh, Seth picking 11. Brave of you, sir. All right, George. Bundy or Jake?
Jake.
Benny.
Tiebreaker, Jake.
Jake has it. Seth, how dare you, sir? King Kong Bundy. Who are you?
Well, it's the result of Undertaker versus Undertaker. I have to.
All right, so here we go. Jake Roberts still in the lead for greatest Undertaker WrestleMania match during the streak, because we're not going to get into post-streak. Taker slammed Bundy, Maddie. He did not tombstone Bundy, unfortunately. Ted DiBiase was at ringside holding the urn that his wrestlers had stolen from Taker. Larry Young, a legit American League umpire, was the That's right. I forgot about that. That's one of the things.
That's right.
Larry Young, the referee in that matchup. Great pull, Grandmaster. Thank you so much for that. This is why I probably should do research. I just go off of my memory, which I'm very proud of, by the way. I'm very proud of my WrestleMania memory. But yeah, sometimes I probably should do a little bit. But Seth, you are blessed, my friend.
How am I blessed?
Because I think that the next matchup is a little underrated. It's 2 big men again, and one of them is definitely not up to par with Taker in ring. However, there was some really, really good ring psychology in this match. There was some good storytelling being told. We got to see what would become Kevin Nash in the NWO during this match. I really enjoyed it for what it was, and that is WrestleMania 12, one of the marquee matchups of that WrestleMania. The Undertaker versus Diesel. This would be his last appearance at a WrestleMania until WrestleMania 18. And actually, this is his last WrestleMania match, because he would never have a WrestleMania match after this. He would make a couple of appearances, but never wrestle again at WrestleMania. So now, the one thing, Seth, I will say, Taker noticeably much smaller during this era. And I think this was also the time during Vince's steroid trials. So I think a lot of guys were kind of encouraged to cut weight and look less big and muscular. And or I'm sure Taker, again, was probably dealing with some injuries and stuff, but noticeably smaller was Taker, especially for this matchup. Seth, what do you got for me on WrestleMania 12 with Big Daddy Cool Diesel?
As of when this match happened, it was supposedly the longest match yet for the for his streak.
Right, it was the most competitive. It was definitely the longest.
Most competitive and longest, with a major event style for its match too.
Yeah.
So it just overall felt like the most important match so far.
And it definitely was. It definitely was probably the biggest. I mean, I would probably say that, Snuka and Jake were up there because both of them did a great job of establishing Taker either as the heel monster or the babyface monster. I think that match with Jake really got Taker over big. But I like this match. I really get a kick out of this. I think that, again, Taker's in there with another big guy, which means you're not going to get a really big athletic competition. But, the choke slam wasn't pretty, but the tombstone at the end definitely was. Taker takes multiple jackknife power bombs and keeps coming back to life, which was is a fun little thing there where Diesel would get all cocky and take his time, and then Taker would come back and choke him, and it was fun. You got to see glimpses of what Diesel Kevin Nash would become when he jumped ship to WCW, and so it's a lot of fun rewatching. But Seth, give me your vote: Big Daddy Cool Diesel, Jake the Snake Roberts.
Diesel.
Seth's going with Diesel. It's gonna get a little bit tougher here for some of you. Benny, is the WrestleMania 8 match better, or is it Big Daddy Cool Diesel?
I'm going to go with Diesel because, Kevin Nash was in his prime, and it was a pretty competitive match.
Yep. Yeah, and they knew they had to compete with the Iron Man match. So I'm betting Taker, knowing how competitive Taker is and stuff, Taker probably went to Diesel and was like, dude, let's tear the house down as best we can. George, how about you? What do you think?
I'm going to agree with everybody else on this one. Definitely the one with Big Daddy Cool Diesel. Again, this match was close to being 17 minutes versus the Jake one was only 6.5 or so, something like that.
Yeah.
So the fact is that there was more time for storytelling and more time to do everything. And at this point in Taker's career, he's already been, he's established he's really good at storytelling. He was starting to do a lot of storytelling. Diesel was also the same way. So you put them both together and creative magic happens, and it was really, really good.
Absolutely. All right, so we've switched it up. Sorry, Jake, you had a good run, but now our greatest match for Undertaker has now moved to WrestleMania 12 with Big Daddy Cool Diesel. We'll see how long that lasts as we move into what many believe to be the WrestleMania that started kicking off the Attitude Era at WrestleMania 13. This is a WrestleMania that is, in my opinion, highly underrated, as you have Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin in the just incredible submission match with the double turn. You had a really fun street fight, Ahmed Johnson and the Legion of Doom versus the Nation of Domination. 13 is actually a really fun WrestleMania for me. But this match, the main event, The Undertaker's first WrestleMania main event, there would not be a lot of them during the streak. A lot of people forget that. As big as Undertaker has been during the streak, he main evented WrestleMania 3 times. From WrestleMania 7 to 30, he main evented 3 times. Now think about how many WrestleManias Roman Reigns has main evented. Right? I mean, it's night and day. So, Benny, George, right? We're back to you, George. WrestleMania 13, Psycho Sid, the WWF champion, versus The Undertaker. Interesting, I guess is the way you could put it, and a lot of shenanigans. We had multiple appearances by Bret the Hitman Hart. Tell me your thoughts. But actually, wait, before we do, Maddie got us a super chat in here. Which, if we get to 10 super chats, Seth Sims will sing "Amazing Grace." So we just need 9 more. But Maddie, we have to read this because it's a super chat. Which animal has the largest chest? A zebra. Ba-dum-bum. Maddie, give yourself a self high five. Great job, Maddie. All right, George, talk to me about WrestleMania 13, Undertaker versus Psycho Sid.
Well, from what I remember, it was a no DQ match.
It became one,
yeah. If I remember right, no. I actually think it was one.
It was, but it was like one of those things where it was like they kind of threw it in late. I think
right,
what happened was the Austin Brett match kind of threw that one for a loop, and they ended up throwing it in last minute so that they could really go at it, and it wouldn't come way down, like how Triple H and Randy Orton at 25 was hamstringed with if you get disqualified you lose the title stipulation.
Yeah.
Right. You don't want to handcuff your main event. So I think they added the no disqualification so that those guys could just go and
advertise it was going to be. Yeah.
So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. So what I remember was that it was a decent long match. I think it was somewhere along the lines of, I don't know, 21, 22, 23 minutes, somewhere in that time frame.
Right.
I'm doing this one from memory. I believe Sid hit his powerbomb and Taker.
Yep.
Kicked out of that, if I remember right. And Sid was shocked. I think everyone was shocked. Again, it goes to the point where finishers were really protected, and very rarely did anyone ever kick out of a finisher, especially a main event guy finisher, right? So, again, just made Taker look strong. Again, like you said, Bret Hart and stuff coming in and out of that match. So, I don't have much.
All right. Well, Sid also hit Taker's tombstone during that match, and Taker still kicked out. So that was pretty.
Right.
That was one of those things. A couple fun things about this match also. So like we said, Bret Hart came out a couple of times. It was kind of groan-inducing when he did, because we're really establishing his heel character. But we also had Bret Hart or Shawn Michaels make an appearance before this match, and then he ends up on commentary. And Shawn Michaels, being Shawn Michaels, said some things that I remember thinking was like, "Oh, I wonder if he was supposed to say that." Like, he's talking about how nobody got screwed out of the title more than Undertaker, or some of these things that didn't sound like character. It sounded like him just talking. And of course, he does a big flip off the top rope when his knee's supposed to be hurt. So giving way to Bret's whole thing that Shawn's just faking his injuries. So a lot of stories going on here, which would become the calling card of the Attitude Era. You could have one match, and then you would have a ton of stuff all going on around it, and that was the Attitude Era. Sid powerbombed Hart. Yes, he did. Taker took advantage, attacking him from behind. Taker went for old school, but Sid snatched him out of midair into the bear hug. Yeah, a lot of big man moves. We got the double boot again. But again, it's kind of like a guilty pleasure for me. I got a kick out of. I like Sid. I've always liked Sid. Sid to me had aura about him. Like, there was just something about him that drew me to him. He had a great look. I loved his character. And it only made it better when he was doing the interview that one time with Jim Ross, and he wanted to restart. And Jim Ross is like, "We're live, pal." I loved that. That made me love Sid even more, because I was just like, because I felt bad because Sid started. People forget how long ago Sid started. And Sid probably wasn't used to live. He was used to all the interviews being pre-taped and stuff. So he's like, "I'm gonna." Let me do that again. We're live, pal. So Seth.
Yeah.
Big Daddy Cool or Psycho Sid? Which one's the better match?
Diesel.
He's staying with Diesel. Benny?
Staying with Diesel.
Staying with Diesel. All right, George.
Diesel.
All right, WrestleMania 12 with Diesel stays there. However, I have a feeling that might change as we head into WrestleMania 14. Benny, you have the pleasure. Brother versus brother, one of the greatest pro wrestling, not just WWE, one of my favorite pro wrestling storylines that continued for years and years and years. The Undertaker versus Kane. Benny, talk to me about it.
You know, honestly, I think the MVP of this WrestleMania was Pete Rose.
Oh.
They hated him when he said, I left some tickets for Bill Buckner at Will Call, but he couldn't pick them up.
Yeah.
I mean, they had to want to kill him at that point, but Kane comes out with Paul Bearer, right? And Taker has the Druids, I guess, with him.
Yep.
And my note is Kane does the unthinkable, and he kicks out of the tombstone twice.
Yep.
And, Kane hung around for a long time. I don't think he did as good of a job reinventing himself as Taker did.
Yeah.
By the time I got to corporate Kane, I was pretty much done with the Kane character. I did not like that at all.
Yeah, I agree. I always felt that a lot of Kane's evolution was a step back. Like, if that makes sense. Like,
devolved.
Yes.
Instead of evolved.
Like, one of the things that made Glenn Jacobs so good at the role of Kane is he was great at the physical aspect of playing the character.
The big red machine.
Yep.
He was at his best.
He didn't have to talk, and you knew what was going on. The way he tilted his head, and he was so menacing. And then the character also, a lot of the evolution didn't make sense. Like, all of a sudden he would start talking with a box, I am Kane. And then that just went away. It was like just one day that disappeared, and he could just talk normal. All the burns and scars were all psychological once he takes the mask off. And, there's aspects of that unmasked Kane that I do like. But, no, I just go back to Big Red Machine Kane. And that was prime Kane right there. Maddie says cocaine. All right. So, what did you think, though, of the match itself, though, Benny? Like, what?
I thought it was a good match. In fact, my vote would be Kane over Diesel.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it's another streak of Taker getting another big guy in the ring. But at least you had a big guy that could go. Kane is a big guy that I think has a lot more in-ring talent than Diesel and Sid. It was and again, this is a great story. So, Seth, how about you? What do you think? Kane or Diesel?
Kane.
George?
Easily Kane. And I'd like to add on that not only did he kick out of the tombstone two times, he actually kicked out 3, but the third one was after the 3 count.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
It was really good storytelling. It made Kane look so strong, even though he was losing. It really made him like this monster.
Kane pulled a Hogan. Kane pulled a Hogan from WrestleMania 6. He's like, that doesn't work for me, brother. Because when Warrior won, like, literally it was like hand hit the mat, Hogan kicked out, and it was, but no, very, very good. And then they laid a beat down on Taker after, and so that WrestleMania a lot of times was where storylines came to a head, but this one it just got started, and they would go into the Inferno match after this. What's that?
I said I love that.
Oh,
match.
I do too. It's hard to watch because it is a little slow because they can't breathe because the fire's eating all the oxygen.
You have to be careful not to actually, set each other on fire before the planned spot. Like,
The visual of it, though, was so cool.
Have you ever seen segments of Taker even talking about that match? I think it was on his podcast or whatever, and he's like, we were just like, they would just go at random times. They didn't know when it was going to happen, and it was crazy.
Yeah. and you could see that they were all covered in water when they first, like, they were all doing everything they could. But again, the visual of it is cool. And when Taker jumps over the ropes, over the flames onto Kane and Vader, I mean, that's what an image that is. So, all right. So Kane versus Taker is now in the lead, WrestleMania 14. And we're now going to take a giant leap back as we now have The Undertaker versus the Big Boss Man. Had this match happened at WrestleMania 7, we might be having a different conversation, because the Big Boss Man at WrestleMania 7 was still very much over. Boss Man was a fan favorite. He was still, like, really going strong in the ring as much as he could. This was not the same deal. This was the McMahon's corporate boss man. It was a different character. It wasn't really over with the crowd. The most Big Boss Man ever got over in this character is when he drug the Big Show's dad's coffin around the cemetery. That was the most over, I think. Or maybe when he cooked Al Snow's dog. One of the two. One of those two is Boss Man's biggest moment in his second run. But he just was not the right opponent for Taker here. And then they throw them into a Hell in a Cell, which Boss Man's not going to really be able to take advantage of the cell. And there's not a strong enough story between the two like you would see later with Triple H and Taker. So it was highly disappointing. And we also got the infamous hanging of the Boss Man in this one. So I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that this one will not get picked over Kane. But Seth, what do you got for me on this one? What's some information you found on this matchup?
The Big Boss Man?
Right. Is there anything about this that you found that doesn't involve Boss Man getting hung by the cell? Because that seems to be what most people remember, apart from Undertaker's amazingly cool entrance attire.
Nothing new.
Because that entrance attire was freaking rad.
Yeah. Nothing new, though, on this one.
Yeah. I don't know what would have been a better matchup at that time. If you're looking at the corporate angle of it, because you had Ken Shamrock was there. You had, or Shane maybe. Like, maybe that's when we should have had Shane versus Taker in a Hell in a Cell. But what would have been a better option, do you think, as an opponent for Kane? George, what do you think?
Honestly, I'm not sure, but and here's why. Because this was the beginning of the Ministry of Darkness as well.
Right.
You skipped over that. And they were trying to make, one, Taker was also dealing with some injuries at the time here, too. They were that's why the match is kind of shorter as well. But also, they were trying to establish the Ministry as a whole, which, remember, they were all involved in the hanging and everything. So that is kind of why I feel like this fits for what they were aiming for. They were trying to make that faction, oh my gosh, you got to be afraid of this faction. And kind of like, like they just did with the Wyatt when they first debuted, and then they dropped the ball with it. But like how they did, it was something similar, right? They were trying to do this big, holy crap moment.
And actually, the Brood is who hung him, and they weren't even part of the Ministry at that point. Like, I don't even know if they ever became. I don't remember them actually being part of the Ministry.
They were.
Did they get in there at some point?
Yeah, they did. They actually, this was to be basically like their entrance to get into the Ministry, but they didn't make it official until like a week or two later on Raw. Some stuff had happened, and then blah blah blah. But yeah,
because
basically, yeah.
I remember them coming down, and I was like, why? At the time, like I was like, and I was avid. Well, no, 15, I would have been just getting back into it because that was when I went to college and I was really starting to get, but I knew enough to where I was like, what are they doing? Why are they like, I don't remember them even bringing them up at any point. But Benny, how about you? What do you think? Would there have been a better opponent from the corporation side of things, or is this kind of just because of the storyline? This is kind of where they had to go.
I will use the term serviceable. This was a serviceable match. They did both get color, which was kind of unique.
Yeah. Yeah, and they tried the handcuff thing, and the handcuff broke. Like that was that was supposed to be a big part of it, where Taker was gonna be, which is always funny when they try to make Taker look helpless, and you're like, really? You're trying to make Taker look helpless, and then the handcuffs snapped, and now you got to play that off, and it's like, well, there goes Taker looking helpless, because now you can play it up as Taker's just a badass and just broke the handcuff when it literally just broke when he fell. Taker failed doing the tombstone. Taker stood up, looked to the heavens with hands upwards, signaling the brood to descend. Yeah. Taker, I mean, for as much as I don't like the match, again, the visuals that Taker brings, Taker understands his character. Taker puts everything into everything he does. And so even the worst of the worst, Taker makes somehow better. Like I said, with Giant Gonzalez, Taker still had those moments that made you feel that was a big epic clash of monsters. This one here, Taker elevates it just by his in-ring psychology and the way he moves, the way he poses. And like I said, his entrance would become one of the most memorable things about everything he did, because they were just so cool. But I'm sure we don't have to do this, but Seth, Big Boss Man in the Hell in a Cell, hanging by a noose, or Kane?
Kane.
Benny?
Kane.
George?
Kane.
Pure Kane. All right, so Kane stays in the lead at WrestleMania 14. We skip over WrestleMania 16. Taker has been away for some time with injuries, and after WrestleMania 16, during the Triple H Rock Iron Man match, the American badass version of The Undertaker appears riding his motorcycle down to the ring, and a all-new Taker is born, and we get an all-new era of The Undertaker, which would lead to some very, very entertaining WrestleMania matches, beginning with WrestleMania 17 in a match that, I'll be honest with you guys, I didn't know what we were going to get from this one. I didn't know if we were going to get the Triple H kind of mat style, if we were just going to get a brawl. But what we got was everything and the kitchen sink. It was a spectacle. We got Taker choke slamming Triple H from one of the camera positions. We got the going for the last ride and Triple H hitting him with the sledgehammer. I mean, just again, you had a great match, great storytelling. The build-up was good. Triple H looked like a stud when he was destroying Taker's bike. Kane holding Stephanie up over his head on the second floor, threatening to throw her down if William Regal didn't give Taker his match. And if you had Triple H coming out to, I almost said Fozzy, to Motorhead, the heel gets a live band to play him out. But that was amazing. That was really, really cool. So I believe, George, we're up to you. I want to hear your thoughts on WrestleMania 17, considered one of the greatest WrestleManias of all time, and this might be one of the best matches of the night.
Yeah, hands down, it was probably one of the best matches of the night. But I don't know. I feel like this was just the beginning, the kickstart off Triple H in as far as I can't even say that. But Triple H is when he was starting to really get over as, the big heel gimmick. And remember, him and Stephanie and Vince and all that just ended. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to just say this match. What Taker wins this one in what about 20 minutes or so?
Yeah, right about there.
18,
with the last ride.
Last ride, yeah. Weren't they like Texas there too?
Yep.
Like Houston or something?
Yep, that was Houston. The Astrodome.
Yeah, so I don't know. My vote on it is still Kane over on this one though. I'm gonna give it to Kane.
Interesting. I agree with Maddie here, who said, "I bet the guy who showed the mat got fired." So, for those of you wondering, so when Taker chokeslams Triple H, the initial image was like, "Oh my God," but then whoever decided to show Triple H landing on the soft padding below was a moron.
Genius.
Like it complete. Like you went, "Oh, well, that wasn't so bad."
He's fine.
Like you literally see that you see him hit, and it's very clear he's landing on a pad.
Yeah.
And it really did ruin the illusion for everybody. I mean, everybody that I saw it with that day, we were all just like, ugh. Like, you just don't replay that. Or if you do, just replay the original angle, because that looked great.
Yeah.
All right, so we got George says it's still Kane. I know which way I would go with this. Seth,
I think I'm keeping Kane too.
Oh, so I mean, Benny, what do you think?
I was going with Triple H all the way.
If I had a vote, I'm not giving myself a vote, by the way, but I would have tied it because I like the Triple H match better. I do think Kane is the better storyline.
Yeah, that was it, right? Like, you got to look at everything, not just
Right.
better in-ring performance, but the storyline, everything going with it.
Yeah.
That's why I went with that. Now, again, maybe later on when we get to some of the other matches, that might be different with Triple H.
Right.
Because, like, we're going to have more matches later on, and I feel like their later matches were a lot better than this earlier one.
Yeah.
So, it's nothing against Triple H. It was just, like, I felt like everything, because you got to look at storyline, everything else going into it. I feel like the Kane one is still much better, especially because the Kane one is still ongoing at this point.
Yeah.
You said after there was we doing this, that, up, down, left, right.
No, I get you.
Everybody's in.
Yeah, no, I get you. It's a valid point. Valid point. The only thing we're going to struggle with Triple H is that they have to follow Shawn.
Mm-hmm.
We're following Shawn Michaels and Undertaker. That's where I think we're gonna start hitting some walls there. But all right, so WrestleMania 14 is still coming out the victor here with Kane, and that takes us into WrestleMania 18, a match that, from what I understand, was actually going to be the end of the streak. From the information that I've heard over the years, they were looking at 18 being the point where potentially Taker's streak would end. Instead, it becomes where Taker first acknowledges the streak by putting up the 10 fingers, showing that he is now 10-0 at WrestleMania. But yeah, there was talk of Rob Van Dam. I know that Taker has talked about Kurt Angle breaking the streak. And Kurt Angle would have been a valid option because he's a legit Olympic gold medalist. I mean, as much as Brock might have made sense to people at 30, imagine prime Kurt Angle a year before main eventing WrestleMania with Brock Lesnar at 18. But what we get instead is Taker choosing Ric Flair as his opponent for WrestleMania 18. A Ric Flair whose confidence was kind of in the tubes at this point. His only match, I believe, in WWE at this point was against Vince at the Royal Rumble in his return at this point. And so Taker choosing Flair was obviously Taker wanting to wrestle one of his wrestling, heroes in Flair, and getting Flair back on the map and getting Flair's confidence back up, getting him back in the ring. And you could see that Flair was struggling at times, but I still found it to be an incredibly fun match. I liked the build to it where Taker took out Ric Flair's son. I like the Arn Anderson's run-in with the incredible Arn Anderson spine buster. That was really, really good. And, the right guy won. But for me, it was a fun match. Benny, give me your thoughts on WrestleMania 18, Ric Flair versus The Undertaker.
Well, once again, this is not the 1987 Ric Flair that could do a 60-minute Broadway with Ricky Morton in his sleep.
Right.
This is a 53-year-old Ric Flair. Now, even, with that in mind, I did think it was a pretty decent match. I mean,
Yeah.
Flair could still go.
Mm-hmm.
My note is, Taker got bloodied. Double A came in. He got bloodied. Flair oh my God, Flair was a bloody mess.
Yeah, he
even
always
the
is.
first 7 rows, they all got color. I mean, everybody got color. No, I thought it was, like you said, it was a very entertaining match.
Both my buddy Greg and I, when we watched that, we both kind of looked at each other and went, that was way better than we thought it would be. Our expectations were not high for this one. And I think that helps it. When your expectations aren't through the roof, I think that always goes in your favor. And I think we both thought, like, Taker's new persona, he was now the heel, which I was not actually much of a fan of that heel version of Taker. And like I said, Flair coming out of a rough time. So, but they exceeded expectations for me, and that goes in their favor. Seth, WrestleMania 18 Flair or WrestleMania 14 with Kane?
Still kicking it with Kane.
Still kicking with Kane. Raising Canes with Seth. Benny, how about you? What do you think?
I'm taking Flair.
He's taking Flair. George, you're the tiebreaker now. What do you got?
Well, I will say this Ric Flair match was also another no DQ match. Taker had a bunch of no DQ matches for Mania, by the way. So, this one's hard.
That's what she said.
No, he got to it before Seth did.
Yeah. I'm not really that's what she said.
Oh, that's right. You're the your mom guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm more
So
of a
I'm
that's what she said.
Because, again, that whole storyline with Kane, I just feel like it's so strong. But yeah, this match, again, like you said, it exceeded my expectations by a lot.
Right.
Oh man, I still got to give it to Kane.
And Kane it is. So Kane lives another day, and we move on to WrestleMania 19. I think Kane's going to live on another day here because we have The Undertaker in what was supposed to be a tag team match. But instead, you have The Undertaker versus The Big Show and A-Train in a train wreck. This was not good.
What do you mean? It was like the best match in the world.
The best part of this was Limp Bizkit's Rollin' taking Taker to the ring live, which I don't even know. Like, I haven't watched it on the network in a long time, just because I can't. But not that I can't. I just mean I don't want to. But I don't even know if they still have that in there, because I think they would have to pay for the rights to air that. So I have this feeling that if you watch it on Netflix or wherever it is, it might skip over it. It might just go to Taker in the ring or something like that. Because hearing Rollin' on anything is very few and far between. But that was actually, I like that better than the Kid Rock entrance. Okay, let's take a poll here. I like Rollin' over American Badass, and definitely over Dead Man Walking. Right? The Undertaker Big Show hybrid theme. So of those three, which one is the better one? Dead Man Walking, American Badass, or Rollin'? George, which one's better?
Rollin'.
Seth? Rollin'. Benny?
I'm rolling with Rollin'.
Rollin'. I mean, we can all, I think, agree that Taker's, the actual Taker theme is the best one. Underrated, though. The guitar, the electric guitar
I love
one.
That one. That's like my favorite one.
Yeah.
It was like his miniature one.
Yeah, where it's like, yeah. Oh, it was actually really. I actually like to use that if it's available on 2K. I always like to use that one. If I'm creating, like, I'll create a version of me, and then I'll do like a Finn Balor thing where I'll create a dark version of me, and that's usually the theme I go with. Is that guitar riff Taker theme? It is so good, so good. All right. So we are now moving on. Or no, we're sorry. We're still on. Unfortunately, we're still on 19. Seth, what do you got for 19 and the appearance of Nathan Jones, WWE's biggest success story?
All I have is that It was a handicap match.
Yeah.
About spectacle than match quality.
Yeah. That sums it up, right? But there was no spectacle. Yeah. That's the problem.
Yeah.
There wasn't even the only spectacle was Taker holding up the American flag after like that was it. Like that's the only spectacle to be had. There's bike ride down.
There's also a note at the end. Still, it added another unique kind of challenge to the streak.
It just added a win to the streak. That's all it did.
Yeah.
It added a win. Nathan,
genius.
Nathan Jones is one of those guys that Vince looks at and goes, "Oh, I must have him." Like,
come to Butthead.
And no offense, Nathan Jones. He's a really, he's got a good look to him. He did really well in Mad Max. He did really well in Troy, for the few moments he was in it, but not the wrestling part was just bad. So the less we say about this one, probably the better. But let's vote because we should do it. We should be fair here. So let's vote Kane or Big Show and A-Train. Seth?
Kane.
We're still raising Canes. George?
Kane.
Benny?
Kane.
Since Kane had won, I was kind of secretly hoping Benny would just go, you know what? Big Show and A-Train.
Yeah.
Kane already had the win.
We were all secretly gonna jokingly vote for Big Show and A-Train, but we all had this mental capacity. We're like, oh well, if we all joke about it, then it's gonna happen.
Next.
Right. And you're absolutely right. And George, we're gonna turn to you again. So we have now a different situation, though. It's a whole different story that we're telling. It's a completely different Kane. And it was a different Taker. And so the whole thing here, really, this was a reestablishing match for Taker. And it was more about the build to this moment than anything else. This match really represented what WrestleMania 20 was, where they were saying it all begins again. This is Taker. The build up to this is Kane buries Taker alive. He starts complaining that Taker became one of us, and they start teasing the return of the Dead Man Taker that we've been wanting since he became the American Badass. And we kept being like, when's he going to be, the Dead Man again? When's he going to be the Dead Man? And when he returns, not only does he return, but so does Paul Bearer. And the Druids, they all come out. Taker comes out and like I said, kind of a hybrid version of Taker in the look-wise, but is very much the Dead Man. And Kane is the unmasked version of Kane. And I like the way that it started, where Kane is like reaching out to him like he's not real. Like he's not, and he's saying like, you're not real.
You're not real. You're not here. And he kept rubbing his eyes and everything. Yeah. Like he thought he was like a figment of his imagination because he had killed Taker. There's no way he came back. And he got resurrected, buddy. He got resurrected.
What this match, now you want to talk, Seth, you want to talk about spectacle versus match quality. What this match lacked in actual match, made up for by leaps and bounds, was story and spectacle. Because that's what this was. This was not meant to be a 5-star Dave Meltzer match. This was meant to be Taker's back. That's what this was.
Back again.
This was never going to be a really hard-fought 25-minute bout. This was going to be quick. This is going to be Taker reestablished as the Dead Man, and we go forward. George, what were your thoughts on this one? Talk to me about Taker Kane 2.
Well, like you said, there's a lot of pre-build that actually really affects this match. For example, like Kane would be in the middle of the ring and the ring would start like levitating and stuff. Like
it's so cool.
The build up to this thing and all kinds of, and the story going into this thing was phenomenal. Like, and everyone was praying that they weren't just gonna at the last minute rip the rug out from under us, because WWE had started to do that a lot, where they would just rip the rug out from you. You have your hopes up so high. But this actually did not only did it meet our expectations, it exceeded them far, far beyond, especially when the Druids came out and the Paul Bear. And just that alone with Paul Bearer being out there with him and him coming out as the dead man, that alone, just the story, right? Like they hadn't even to touch each other, and it would have been fantastic.
Right.
So I'm gonna go Kane 2 for this one. I'm actually gonna break off a Kane 1 and go to Kane 2, mainly because of the story. It reestablished Taker as the dead man and all. It just, mwah.
I mean, George is bringing up a good point here, though, of how important story is in pro wrestling. And it's one of the things that when WWE's riding high, it's not so much that they're putting on great matches every night. It's that they're telling good stories. When people are, yay, I can't wait for this match. It's because they're telling good stories, right? When you're going into WrestleMania, you should have a lot of good stories going into it. Not 2 or 3 tops, which is kind of where I see we're at right now. We don't have a lot of real strong stories going on. Benny talked about this in our on one of my chats, and it's, Punk and Roman is a pretty decent story. Cody and Randy's a good story, and then you got everything else is trickle down after that. So, but yeah, story is so important in professional wrestling. So, all right. So, Benny, what are your thoughts? Kane 1 versus Kane 2.
Oh man, coin flip. I'll take Kane 2.
Kane 2. Seth, what would your pick have been? Because we're already going with Kane 2.
Yeah, I think this one's difficult though, because I really like Kane 1, but Kane 2 is. I'm gonna go with Kane 1, but Kane 2 is a rough second.
I would stick with Kane 1 just for Undertaker's entrance, which is still one of my favorite entrances of all time. But Kane 2 takes it.
But think of that Kane 2 entrance, though, man. Like the Druids, and it was in return.
Oh, yeah.
You get mind of it. So
no, for sure. I'm not taking anything away from that. And I wasn't. I guess I should rephrase that. I'm not picking one because of the entrance. I was like, one of the reasons I really like 1 is Undertaker's entrance. I'll put it that way. That was so cool. And Kane 2 was kind of a little bit of a recreation of that in a sense. So, all right, here we go. Oba versus Brock, brother, says Maddie. Yeah, I am looking forward to that one, I will say. But, all right, here we go. We're moving on to now WrestleMania 21. And I'm trying to think I think, Benny, you're up for WrestleMania 21. Is that correct? And that's The Undertaker versus Randy Orton. Take it away, Benny.
Yeah, very young Randy Orton. I think he had already had his run as the youngest world champion.
Yep. Now he's the legend killer.
Yeah, I have notes that this was an excellent match. I really liked when Orton reversed the choke slam into an RKO. Just a great spot. And kudos to Randy Orton. I mean, 21 years later, he's just as relevant, if not more so. I think by far the Undertaker's most talented opponent to date. Yeah, that might be eclipsed very shortly, but I'm going to go with, and I'm going to say this was my favorite match so far.
Yeah. Yeah, Randy, because you're getting prime, a young up-and-coming, I wouldn't say prime yet, but a young up-and-coming Randy Orton. You're finally getting Taker in there in the ring with some youth, right? That always helps. But, it was very, very good. This is where the streak started, I think, becoming a bigger deal. You started seeing people out in the crowd with signs saying, at this point, this would have been... because 20 was 11, so this would have been people holding up signs saying 12-0. You'd see some people holding up 11-1 who were
13.
13? Because 18 was 10. Oh, I skipped over. Yeah, you're right. My bad. I skipped Big Show and A-Train. I told you. I always skip Big Show and A-Train, so 13. But yeah, very, very good stuff. So Benny's pick is Randy. Seth, what's your pick? Kane 2 or Randy Orton?
Kane 2.
He sticks with Kane 2. So, George, you're the deciding factor here. Randy Orton, the legend killer, versus The Undertaker, or Kane 2?
Kane, you had a great run. This was a great, great long run here, but I'm sorry to say, RKO, baby. Randy Orton.
Randy Orton takes it. So Randy Orton is now in the lead, and that takes us to, we are going to have to kind of keep moving here. Takes us to WrestleMania 22, where we have Mark Henry, the world's strongest man. This is not quite the Mark Henry we would see later on that would become world heavyweight champion, but this was the precursor to that. And then we have a casket match for the first time at WrestleMania. And interesting choice for Taker and Mark Henry to begin with, and then another interesting choice to put them in a casket match. But I thought it was a good competitive match. I think it lacked story, but it ended up being better. Again, exceeded my expectations. The spot where Taker power bombs Mark Henry was really, really cool. So, Seth, what do you got for me on WrestleMania 22, The Undertaker versus Mark Henry?
It was a pretty solid match, but it's just more of another dominant deadman style win, so it's not exactly new.
Right, yeah. And like I said,
it was kind of just like, it's more like a filler episode in a TV series.
Right. And you weren't going to get a lot of wrestling with this match, right? Mark Henry is a power wrestler, right? A big dude. But again, I thought they did a good job. I thought they exceeded my expectations for this match. I think this was one of the first times that I said, okay, maybe Mark Henry is better than I've given him credit for. I'll be honest. I started to kind of come around to Mark Henry.
Weren't you?
What's that?
I said before that you were still thinking about sexual chocolate.
I tried not to think about sexual chocolate. Thank you very much.
What?
Yeah, that was one of his
I took
characters.
off my headphones for a minute and just, man.
And you heard sexual chocolate. Where are you going? Give you a second. Oh, you're spraying somebody?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. I guess one of our pets is doing something wrong. My son got up to spray him. All right.
Eating poop.
Oh, that's disgusting. That must have been our dog. All right. So, Seth, what is your vote here? Are we sticking with Randy Orton, or are we moving to Mark Henry as being the better match?
Sticking with Randy Orton.
Randy Orton. George?
Orton.
Benny?
RKO.
RKO. So Randy Orton keeps the title. We move on to WrestleMania 23. The lead-in to this one, The Undertaker, for the first time in his career, wins the Royal Rumble. One of my favorite Rumble moments, because I am a very biased individual and I love The Undertaker. It also beautifully set up what it was to come, as the last two were Undertaker and Shawn. And Undertaker and Shawn put on a classic at the end of that Rumble that I think has never been beat. It was the best ending to any Rumble from quality-wise. And so Undertaker chooses Batista as his opponent for WrestleMania 23. The win at the Rumble did not guarantee Taker would headline WrestleMania 23. He was at more towards the middle of the card. The headliner was, in fact, John Cena versus Shawn Michaels. And I would dare to say that the billionaire match, the hair versus hair match, Vince and Trump with their respective wrestlers,
that's clearly the best thing
well,
ever.
they were promoted more than Taker and Batista. So I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that Taker and Batista went out for this match with a bit of a chip on their shoulder, because they were being out-marketed by those other two matches. And I thought Taker and Batista did a fantastic job. George, talk to me about this one.
Yeah, I agree too. You could definitely tell when they went out there they had a chip on their shoulder. They really went out there, and I'll be honest, like a lot of people have liked Batista over the years, and he's not a bad wrestler, but I think Taker made him look like $1 million.
Oh,
like plain simple. Like Taker made him look strong, stronger than I feel like he's ever actually looked, because they made it look like he could go. not just in strength, but also in psychology and wrestling. But you could tell it was all Taker, but it was brilliant. But for me, my vote is going to be, I'll give it to Batista on this one.
All right.
I'm gonna give it to him. Yeah, because they went. It was a good match.
Benny, what do you think? It was Randy Orton. Which Evolution member takes this one? Randy Orton or Batista?
I'm sticking with Randy Orton.
All right, Seth, you're the tiebreaker. Whoever thought? Did Undertaker's victory, winning the world title at 23, outshine Randy Orton at WrestleMania 21?
I'm going to say yes.
Batista takes it. So now WrestleMania 23's Undertaker versus Batista, where he wins the World Heavyweight title, is now number 1. And we move into WrestleMania 24, where Taker has his second WrestleMania main event. Again, for the World Heavyweight Championship, he is now facing Edge for the World Heavyweight Championship. Edge is the champ. There's a lot of story going on here with Vicky Guerrero and all kinds of things. Interesting time for WWE here. And, of course, the big match of 24 that most people tend to think about is Ric Flair versus Shawn Michaels. But this match is kind of become like a sleeper. A lot of people, when they go back and watch, they go, wow, that Taker-Edge match was really, really good. Benny, let's get your thoughts on Undertaker versus Edge here.
I am one of those people that you just mentioned because, I watched the whole thing, and I must have said, holy crap, more than Frank Barone did. He countered everything. The snake eyes, last ride, choke slam, tombstone. He had a counter for everything. Just a phenomenal performance. I found myself really paying close attention to this match. And I believe, again, correct me if I'm wrong, this was his first time Taker using Hell's Gate.
Yeah, and he won the match with it. Yeah, that was incredible. Grandmaster brings up a good point here. After the show, WWE was criticized for a malfunction with the pyrotechnics, and 45 people were injured during that malfunction during the celebration. Wow. And I do remember that. And I believe that you can actually kind of see it in the footage. You can see where the malfunction happened. I don't know if they've removed it or not since, but I do recall there was a moment where you could actually see where and when it happened. So kind of put a pall on the things, but still a great moment in WrestleMania history. So
I know I love watching people get burned.
I know. So it's why we love Freddy Krueger, right?
Yeah. That's why. Well, I guess Deadpool wasn't burned. He just has severe healing and severe cancer.
Yeah, there you go. All right. So Benny, give me your thoughts.
He looks
here.
like he was burned.
Are we staying with Batista? I know you didn't vote for Batista, but are we staying with Batista, or are we now moving on to Edge being the better match for Taker?
I'm going with
Edge.
Edge. So it doesn't matter what you say, George, but what do you think?
I'm also saying Edge, but I'd also like to point out that Edge was actually originally supposed to win this match and break the streak, and he himself refused and felt that the streak should be protected and kept moving forward. And I am one of the people who also agree with him on that assessment.
Yep.
But that match was by far probably the best match Taker had at Mania up until that point.
Yep. I knew there's a reason I liked Edge. Yeah, no, I've heard that story before as well. Very, very cool for Edge. Because imagine you being told you're going to break the streak. How many people would have had the forethought to be like, no? Like,
nah.
Why? Who wouldn't have jumped on that, right? Because imagine if Edge had broken the streak, Edge would have catapulted into the stratosphere. Because then Edge would have been the one. So, all right. Right.
Or 15-1 actually would have been. Yeah.
But now we move forward to WrestleMania 25. A match between The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels that was absolutely almost done out of spite. So Undertaker, Shawn felt that they deserved a better spot on the card. They thought they deserved a little more time, and they took their time. They told an unbelievable story, and they absolutely stole the show. You cannot even argue that fact. Undertaker, Shawn, outside of John Cena AAing Big Show with Edge on top of Show for just a brief moment, there's not a whole lot of other memorable things that you can talk about apart from Shawn versus Taker for 25. And you could say the same for 26. But let's stick with 25. And I'm a little lost on where I'm at here. I believe Benny did 24, which means that Seth, you get the pleasure of talking about 25. 25, I remember watching in our house in Corona. It was just me. Your mother didn't want to watch wrestling, and she was doing something else. I was on my feet. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. It was the greatest thing. And I can only imagine that's the closest that I can get to when people watched Steamboat Savage live, because this was art. This was amazing for me.
Art the Clown.
So, Seth, what do you got on Shawn Taker 1 from WrestleMania 25?
So, it's often called the greatest WrestleMania matches ever.
It still is by me.
Yeah.
But I don't get a vote here.
Yeah, and they say it took the streak from legendary to mythical.
Yeah. That is further confirmed next year. Mm-hmm. Because you put streak versus career. How higher can the streak get than putting it up against a career for Shawn Michaels? That's incredible. So, Seth, what is your vote, though?
Shawn Michaels.
Okay. All right. Benny,
just go.
Shawn Michaels or Edge?
HBK.
HBK. All right, George.
Also going to say HBK, Shawn Michaels. This was probably the closest you're going to get to a perfect wrestling match, period. Like, this was, if you to ask me, I'm going to name a perfect wrestling match, I can't think of one that even comes close to this one. Like there's always something or whatever goes wrong. This was, I can't think of anything that comes closer to this match, to a perfect match. Like, it had everything that you could possibly want in a wrestling match. And, again, like you said, edge of my seat every time you keep thinking this was going to happen, and then boom, Shawn Taker would kick out, or it was over here, and no, Shawn would kick out, and it was, man, you can end it right there. Like this, I don't think any other match you're going to be able to name is going to beat this match. So right here, Shawn Michaels.
The only thing I remember, there was a botch at one point, which is when I think it was Snuka's son was slightly out of position and failed to catch Taker when he jumped over the rope.
It actually enhanced the match.
It did.
It actually made it look
right.
It made it look better.
Yeah, because Taker lands on his head, and and Shawn and Taker are two of the best ever, and they play it off beautifully. Like Shawn and they do the whole thing where Shawn he doesn't want to win by count out, or maybe he does, or something like. It's just they are so good at what they do. So 25 is in our lead right now. 26 is the rematch. It is career versus streak, which, again, like Ric Flair's last match at 24, is a little marred by HBK coming out of retirement for a Saudi match that was a train wreck. This was, to me, it was a beautiful match. The problem I had was some of it felt like rinse and repeat. Like, okay, let's take what worked with 25. Let's try to recreate as much of that as we can. There wasn't a lot of new in this one, which, to be fair, if you go by what Ric Flair usually says, why would you? Give the people what they came to see, right? He told Sting that one time. Why don't you do a bunch of other stuff? And Flair goes, because that's not why they're here. They're here to see me flip over that top turnbuckle. They're here to see me take that face plant and do the figure four, and you reverse the figure four. That's what people come to see. Me getting thrown off the top rope, never hitting that move off the top rope. That's what people came to see. So
he actually did it once. I actually know
he
what
did.
that move is supposed to be. It's a double axe handle.
Yeah.
It's a double axe handle.
Yeah, he did. That's right. He did hit it one time. But all right, George, real quick, give me your thoughts on 26, and does it beat out 25?
No, it doesn't beat out 25. Like I said, you're not going to find, even though it's the same people, you're not going to find a better. Again, you had lightning in a bottle, and you also had the fact, like you said, that the botch that actually made it look even better, right? You have stuff like that going on in that first one. Another fantastic match, more near falls, more selling. I mean, like, these two matches alone are probably the best matches, period, right? But of all of his streak, maybe in all of wrestling, to be honest with you. But at the same time, I still feel like Sean 1 is still the best match.
Yeah, I will say I do like the ending of 26 better, just the ending, where Sean is on his last gasp and slaps Taker, and Taker doesn't just do a tombstone. He does a jumping tombstone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just to emphasize, like, this is freaking over. Like, bam! It was so good. Those two are two of the greatest ever. And when they're in the ring together, it was always magic. From the casket match at Royal Rumble 98, anytime they were in the ring together, it was beautiful.
Kane's debut, they were wrestling, right? They were in a Hell in a Cell.
The Hell in a Cell. Yep. That was amazing. I remember Mick Foley went off the top of the cell because he didn't know how he was going to top Shawn and Taker.
Yep.
You know, so absolutely incredible. All right, let's move on to Wrestle. Oh, wait. Nobody else got a vote. Benny, do you think 25 or 26 is the better one?
I'm going to vote 25. I've always had a problem with the premise of no DQ versus career because, you know, one guy, if he loses, well, you have a loss on your record. The other guy, if he loses, well, you can't wrestle anymore. It's just very unequal.
Right. I think that was just like to Seth's point. I think it was just like that was WWE recognizing how important the streak had become.
Right.
Right. And how, like, if you could break the streak, it was almost like that. Like, and they even told Punk that at 29, like, dude, you're fighting for the streak. Like, that's bigger to a lot of people than the title. Whoever breaks Taker's streak, that's going to be a bigger moment than the title. And think about WrestleMania 30. What was the biggest moment of WrestleMania 30? I'm sorry, especially looking back on it now, it was not Daniel Bryan winning the title. It was a great moment. But the most memorable moment, the biggest moment of 30, was Taker's losing the streak. That shut up an entire stadium of people for like 3 minutes. Silence for 3 minutes. Where they even played the music late, which made everybody think something went wrong. So, yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying, Benny. I think that's why it made sense, because they even played it as that's what meant a lot. The streak meant a lot to Taker, and Taker's like, well, if you're going to take away, try to take away what means that much to me, then I'm going to take away what means so much to you, your career. But we're moving on to WrestleMania 27. We're getting short on time, so what we're going to do is we're going to kind of combine 27 and 28. So I believe 28. We're at Benny, right?
Yes.
We're back at Benny. So Benny, talk to me about Triple H's 2 matches. We got 27, where Taker taps out Triple H, but Taker falls at the end, playing out the punishment that he took. Returns at 28 with his freshly shaven head for the Hell in a Cell, where I literally thought the streak was over, more so than I ever did in any other match. When HBK hit the sweet chin music into Triple H's pedigree, I thought that was it, but I was wrong. And that was the end of an era, Hell in a Cell at WrestleMania 28. So, Benny, talk to me about those two. Do either one of them stand up against Shawn Taker at 25?
To answer that first question, no. But, I mean, they come pretty damn close. And I will say for WrestleMania 27, maybe not the best match, but to me, like one of the best finishes ever is when Taker has Triple H in Hell's Gate, and he's groping around for the sledgehammer.
Yes.
And all of a sudden he gets it. You're thinking, holy crap, what's going to happen now? And it just drops out of his hand. That was a great, great moment.
So good.
And then what I loved about the 28 was that at the end, when just a total show of respect, when Shawn Michaels and Taker lift up Triple H, and they all walk out of down the aisle arm in arm. Just I mean, peeling back the kayfabe curtain a little bit, but just a great moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, both those matches were the highlight of both those WrestleManias. 27 was one of my least favorite overall, but Triple H Taker pretty much saves it. And 28 was a much better overall WrestleMania, but that Hell in a Cell was a great match. It was a beautiful story. It was the conclusion of a beautiful story that had begun at the Royal Rumble before WrestleMania 23, and had been a long-term story. I mean, you can go all the way back further than that to Shawn and Taker, but really that Rumble all the way through, just beautiful storytelling. And the lead into 27, when Undertaker returns and then Triple H returns the same night, the two don't say a word. They don't speak. They don't get on the mic. They just look up at the WrestleMania sign, and the crowd goes wild. That is a masterclass in psychology and getting those fans in the palm of your hand. So, Benny, let me know. Tell me, you already said no, so you're still going with HBK at WrestleMania 25.
25.
George,
yes.
Do either of these matches beat Shawn at WrestleMania 25?
No, they don't. I mean, they're close, but no. Again, like I said, you're probably not gonna find two better matches than Shawn and Taker at Mania. Right. I will like to point out though on this Triple H 2 where Shawn's the special ref.
Yeah.
Taker came out and he's the one who wanted the match because he had something to prove.
Right.
And Triple H kept saying no for a while there, so they made him fight for it and whatnot. And but I agree with you. When they hit that super kick and that sweet chin music and the pedigree, I thought it was over. And I kept thinking Shawn was going to continue to help Triple H, but he didn't do that. I thought like once he did it, he was just going to keep going that direction.
Yeah. Shawn's expressions were amazing. Shawn's psychology during that was incredible. Really made you feel what was happening. So
I feel like those four matches. I don't think like anyone is going to come close to those anytime soon, right? Like even it doesn't matter who wins or loses, like just quality of matches, like in general. I don't care if it's a Mania, a SummerSlam, or Rumble. Good luck anyone trying to get on par of those matches. Like I still get to see it, and it's possible, obviously. But good luck.
But not just match wise, but storyline wise, but character wise.
You can't just be like the in-ring stuff. It's got to be the whole shebang, the story, the in-ring, everything.
Seth, what do you think? Do you think either one of these beat out Shawn Michaels and Taker from 25?
No, I think
you were able to understand what was happening a lot more.
Yeah, I think 27 beats 26 and 28, but it doesn't beat 25.
It's a good call. Good call. I would have picked 28 over 27. Because, like I said, everything together. You had Shawn, Triple H, Taker all in there. They didn't necessarily do what the big, oh, my God, sell moment. Nobody climbed up to the top of the cage. But they didn't have to. That's the beauty of it. Like, people today complain to me about the lack of blood in WWE. And I'm like, you don't have to have blood every night, right? You do realize this. And it makes when they do bleed – all the more special. Like it's like, oh my God, he's got color, right? And WWE does have like rules. They don't want guys blading, and I'm all for that. Like I don't need people with Abdullah the Butcher foreheads or the Dusty Rhodes forehead.
Dusty, yeah.
Yeah, Dusty had a pretty gnarly forehead. You know, I get, you know, to each their own. That's just me. But, all right, so let's go on. We got 29 and we got 30. So 29 is CM Punk, the best in the world. We bring into the storyline, which had to be approved, and Taker himself said, to try to, I guess, ease everyone's anger, that Paul Bearer would have loved what they did. But they bring in Paul Bearer's death into the storyline of Taker versus Punk. At one point, Punk, I believe, even pours Paul Bearer's ashes all over Taker. So you got a very, very pissed off Undertaker and Punk. And I think a lot of people didn't think Punk had a chance to live up to the last 4 WrestleManias. But I do know a lot of people, in all reality, a lot of people who consider Punk Taker better than 26, 27, 28, and is a toss-up between 25. I do know those people. I don't know if you guys are those people, but we're going to find out. George, real quick here, give me your thoughts on WrestleMania 29 with CM Punk.
You could definitely tell that they had a chip on their shoulder and they had something to prove.
Yeah.
Especially Punk.
Yeah.
I guess I can agree with that assessment. I could no. No. It's close, right? So that match was definitely good. I would put it on par with the Triple H matches, but I still don't think it's even better than the Triple H matches. I think it's like, if it's like Triple H's like matches are like right here, it's like right under.
Okay.
Again, it's gonna be really hard to surpass those matches. Like again, the Shawn Triple H Taker matches are just, again, good luck. It's really hard to beat those.
Right. So let's do this. Benny, which does CM Punk match up with Shawn Michaels from 25?
No. I mean, but it's not that big of a gap, I don't think.
Yeah.
It's fairly close. I mean, I think, decisively 25 is still a better match, but I kind of agree with George. It's very close to the 2 Triple H matches. Maybe like 1 or 2% below, but very, very close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seth, how about you? What do you think?
I'm going to say 29 is the best.
You liked 29. And yeah, Seth, and so Seth's at that age where 29, he would have remembered a bit more than, because you weren't there for 25. I know, because I was by myself. But so he didn't get to see that live, but you did see Punk and Taker live, and Seth's been watching every WrestleMania with me ever since. So I can understand where Seth would find that, and especially with Punk still active today, and I think all of us here we're all big Punk fans. We all like CM Punk. I don't even know where my Punk's around here somewhere. Oh, here he is.
Well, I just like watching Punk lose.
Oh, how dare you! So here's my CM Punk, which is actually an AEW one LJN figure, but I'm a big Punk fan. I do have the old school Hogan and the new Dusty Rhodes one they came out with, and I have a Cody Rhodes as well. But all right, and then of course we get to WrestleMania 30. I'm going to talk about WrestleMania 30. We've already mentioned it is the most memorable thing about WrestleMania 30. You talk about WrestleMania 30, there's a lot to talk about. But the biggest moment was the end of the streak. And I don't even think we need to ask about this one. Right now, Shawn at 25 is our clear-cut best match in Undertaker's WrestleMania career. However, Taker in this match gets concussed fairly early on. Taker himself doesn't remember anything about it and doesn't even remember the day for the most part. But we do know that Vince made the call to end the streak. And Taker was going to win it going into WrestleMania. And it was a last-minute thing where Vince basically said Brock's going over. And if you ask why, it's who else was going to go over. And I think that's a bad call. I think it's a bad reason to put Brock over. It's like, what do you mean? Like, who else? If there is no one else and you don't think Brock should have before, then no one should. If the right guy isn't there in the moment to do it, you don't do it. And There's a part of me that wishes Brock would have been like, no, I don't want to beat the streak. You know, I think Vince would have listened.
And another thing too is another guy did come up later on, right? Because he's the second person to beat Taker, right? Like, and it had Roman. Like Roman would have been. You could have gotten the tribal chief gimmick out of Roman a lot earlier because the fans would have lost their beep if he'd been the one to beat the streak.
Yeah, he
did beat Taker, but at that point nobody cared because the streak was over.
Right.
If that streak has still been intact. The Heat. I mean, the Heat was already bad enough as it was the night after.
Yeah.
Could you imagine that he already had like I don't know, God, he couldn't even talk. That Heat was so bad at the next night. Could you imagine what that Heat would have been like if he had been the one to beat the streak?
Right. Sometimes there's something to be said in pro wrestling for patience. You know, did Brock need it? No, I don't think he did. I think Brock can still go on and be dominant without the win. Did Roman need it? If they'd have been smart about it and used it as a way to get him into that heel Roman, then it would have been beautifully. I think that would have been a great way. I would have been okay with that, right? And especially if Taker had followed through with that being his last match, which he did not, and he still ended up coming back. But the Boneyard match was a really great way for Taker to go out. But that basically takes us through the streak, guys. WrestleMania 30, I think we can all agree, does not beat Shawn Michaels, right?
Not even close.
Not even close.
No.
The moment is a bigger moment. Let's be real. The loss of the streak is a bigger moment, but it does not make the match good. So the greatest match for The Undertaker for WrestleMania and maybe of his entire career, Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 25. This has been our WrestleMania spotlight of The Undertaker's WrestleMania win streak. Look for more spotlight shows as we go forward. Not just WrestleMania, but we're going to do WWE Pro Wrestling spotlights where we're going to focus on specific things like specific wrestlers, maybe a specific event, something like that. Great moments, that kind of thing. So look for that as we continue going on. Next week, right here, we're going to be having our Squared Circle game show, the return of the Squared Circle as we do our WrestleMania 42 edition. And then the week after that, guys, we are back to our 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time slot. That's 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. 4 hours. We're going to be on the air as we preview Night 1 and Night 2 of WrestleMania 42, giving you our predictions of what's going to happen throughout the show. Don't miss out on that one. And we still have our game nights every Tuesday night, and we're still going to continue our streak of playing old school WWE games as we continue moving towards WrestleMania. And, of course, don't miss out on Warriors Unleashed on Friday nights, where we give you inspiration and information to help you in your health, fitness, and mindset journeys. So look forward to that. All right, lastly, guys, before we go, don't forget to head on over to Amazon, pick up your copy of my very first book that came out last month, Vengeance. You can find it on Kindle, paperback, and hardcover. They are available right now. And as of yesterday, our brand new original album, Catching Stars, is available for download and streaming. You can get it today on iTunes, and you can also stream it on Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon Music, Pandora, YouTube. Wherever you stream music, you will find Catching Stars. So do me a favor, check that out. Add that to your playlists, add it to your library. Hopefully you'll all enjoy it. It was definitely a labor of love for me. And it's another example, guys, of what I want to encourage all of you. Never give up on your dreams. Never give up on being who you always wanted to be. I started to give up a long time ago. And 5 years ago, April 3rd, 2021, I made the decision to change my life. And I have started chasing those dreams yet again. And if I can do what I'm doing today with my shows, my book, my album, you guys can do it too. Just never give up on your dreams. Never give up on you. And that's my message for you here today. So, guys, I want you to remember what we always tell you. I want to thank, first of all, before I forget, I want to thank my co-host Seth Sims. I want to thank the one and only Benny the Jet Scala. And Benny, real quick, tell our listeners where they can find you on WANT and other places.
Well, real quick, because what you said was a perfect segue of, never give up on your dreams. If somebody told me even 2 years ago that I was going to be a DJ, I would have said, you're crazy. But here I am tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock, Benny the Jet on Want Radio, Monday night at 6 on the Playa Entertainment Network is my true crime with the Bad Girl, the Playa, and Dangerous Dave. And on Wednesday, my wrestling podcast, When It Was Real, which inexplicably is still number 31 in Poland, which I will never understand.
Very, very cool. George, you got anything to add?
Just as you would say, it's never too late to change your life, no matter where you are, how low you are. If anyone who knows my story, I was at the lowest of the lows.
Yep.
And anybody can rise. So I would say nothing's impossible if you believe in yourself. Even impossible says I'm possible. So embrace that impossible, because it's true. You are possible. So always be willing out there, chase those dreams, chase those goals, set goals. They mean everything. And hey, if you're ever in Spring Lake, North Carolina, or you want a one-on-one Zoom, hit me up and see what we can work out for you and get a good workout for you and get your life back on track.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us here on the Positively Pat Sims Show. So don't forget what we always tell you. Take it easy, brothers. And if it's easy, bang, take it twice. I'll see you next week. So long, everybody. Have a great weekend.
The lights are dim, but the room still hums with the echoes of laughter and the moments we spun. Every honest word is like a story.